far down the rabbit hole are you willing to let the sucker-covered tentacles of unrestrained government probe? With the gossip, intrigue, and leaks falling out of the Mueller probe like road apples from an old plow horse, it's easy to lose sight of an unconstrained investigation. With the accusation this weekend, the special counsel's office may have inappropriately gathered tens of thousands of emails from the Trump transition team. It's time to ask, how far are we willing to let the investigation go, and to what end? Robert Mueller has minimal oversight and maximal funding to pilot his nebulous Death Star as long and wide as it takes to bring down the president. The question isn't whether the most powerful position in the world needs confining. That's obvious and was addressed when the Constitution was born. The fear is now that Mueller and his team are disregarding that baby to silence a political new enemy. That's cause for concern. If the government is in fact overreaching, we have to be mindful of slapping its hand so it doesn't reach in and compromise our rights, safety, and privacy in the future. This goes for special counsel, the president, and all federal agencies who already have way too much power and insight. Did the president or his team break the law and actually compromise national security? Or do his annoying temperament and impulsive fits embarrass his foes to the point they feel they need to overturn his ascendance in order to save face? In this political blood sport, it's too easy to laugh off the confines of the Fourth Amendment if the first aim is to depose a buffoon. If the president did something wrong, then go after him. If he rubs you the wrong way, you don't get to take extra legal means in your sweet old time to make it right. Put up or shut up. And if you don't have the goods, lock it up, Mueller. The president last night revealed whether he plans to fire Robert Mueller after a weekend full of speculation that he could do so before Christmas. Watch.
No, I'm not. No.
But accusations that Mueller wrongfully obtained all those thousands of emails suggest the president's lawyers could be laying the groundwork for a strategy to get rid of the special counsel. So do they have a case? Fox News senior judicial analyst joins me now, Judge Andrew Napolitano, taking the case. Welcome back.
Always a pleasure.
So it's disconcerting to hear that perhaps there was some overreach in obtaining these thousands and thousands of emails. How did Robert Mueller's team get them? And is there something here that deserves more scrutiny?
It's disconcerting to hear allegations of overreach when there was none.
Okay.
There was no overreach.
That's fair.
So a couple of basics. Robert Mueller can't subpoena anything. Only a grand jury can.
Yes.
And in order to get a grand jury subpoena, somebody working for Mueller, an FBI agent or a federal prosecutor, has to actually testify under oath about why they need what they need.
But some of the emails that the FBI has used and the special counsel has used to interrogate people part of this investigation, like Michael Flynn, they don't come necessarily from subpoenas. These are emails that they have, perhaps because of the way they obtained them through FISA.
Not the emails that we're talking about.
Yes.
The emails that we're talking about, which
the
are about
GSA emails that we're learning about this weekend, that's different than the emails that were obtained by the team in order to question Flynn.
Two different issues here.
Yes.
General Flynn was questioned on the basis of transcripts of a conversation, 5 conversations that he had with Ambassador Kislyak, really KGB Colonel Kislyak, masquerading as the U.S. ambassador.
Yeah.
So the FBI knew what he had said to Kislyak, and Kislyak had said to him at the time they interrogated him. The complaint this weekend is that Bob Mueller somehow inappropriately obtained documents from the GSA that really belonged to the transition team. So when a grand jury subpoenas...
But that's a valid question, isn't it? Are these private emails?
Doesn't matter. The grand jury can subpoena anything it wants. It is the duty of the custodian of the documents, doctor, lawyer, banker, or GSA, to inform the owner of the documents that a subpoena has arrived. That's where the GSA dropped the ball, not Bob Mueller. So it's the duty of the GSA to tell the transition team, there are FBI agents here with a subpoena. We're going to comply in 10 days. You can take a copy of the subpoena, go to the judge supervising the grand jury, and challenge it if you want.
Yeah.
But when the GSA fails to do that, it will be just like the FBI wanting your bank records and your bank failing to give you an opportunity to challenge what the FBI presented. it is the GSA's fault, and in my hypothetical, your bank's fault. This is not a search warrant where they come and grab immediately. This is a subpoena where the custodian of the documents, here the GSA, has 10 days to 2 weeks to gather the documents and surrender.
All right, so the Trump transition team is saying that we were caught flat-footed. We had no way to appropriately respond to this. Do they have a claim here, or is this just about protecting the president, making an interesting story much, much bigger in order to get rid of Mueller? Is that the ultimate goal here?
I don't know what the goal is. I really never heard of this lawyer who was representing not even the Trump transition team, which doesn't exist anymore, but the trustee of the transition. The transition went out of business at the moment Donald Trump was inaugurated. I honestly think that the writer of the letter, and I don't want to defame him, is unfamiliar with the way criminal procedure works. Grand jury subpoenas, custodian of documents. Custodian of documents tells the owner of the documents, the FBI is here, we're going to comply in 10 days unless you get a judge to interfere. That didn't happen. So if the transition, or what remains of it, has a beef, the beef is with the GSA that failed to tell them. Now, there's an underlying story here, which you mentioned earlier with General Flynn. Bob Mueller's team has already interviewed everybody in the West Wing they want to talk to. For sure, those people did not know at the time of those interviews that the interviewers had seen their emails. Were those interviews a perjury trap, as I think the interrogation of General Flynn was? Was the purpose to trap those people, to get them to lie to the FBI so that they could squeeze them for information about the president? It's unfortunate, but that's the way the government works today. It's reprehensible, but that's what it does.
That is reprehensible, though. That seems wrong. I mean, the other thing that troubles me about this, I have no interest in protecting the president. I think that that the office of the presidency has grown too vast and too powerful.
Hear, hear.
I don't have a problem constraining that and calling truth to power. My problem is that surveillance is being misused, and this all goes on for so long and takes so many resources, and there's really no resolution. And it creates such a powerful arm of the government to reach in and get whatever it wants by any means necessary.
I'm going to give you another sleepless night. Until a certain year, and I'm going to leave the blank till the end, it was the obligation of the government to tell you when it was serving a subpoena. So the custodian of the records didn't have to tell you. And then in this certain year, they changed it and the government didn't have to tell you. Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
1986 made it a heck of a lot easier for the feds to prosecute rather than easier for civil liberties to be defended.
Yeah, but we have to always, and I don't care if I sound like a broken record, we have to be mindful of our civil liberties.
Of course we do. Of course we do. Don't rely on prosecutors to be mindful of our civil liberties because they want to win convictions.
And again, I don't think this administration is filled with constitutionalists.
No.
And that's not the point to protect them or the presidency. It's to protect our basic natural rights that are eroded with every...
Right. So, look, if every time there's a prosecution or an investigation, we're going to investigate the morals of the prosecutor and the cops who do the investigation, nobody will be prosecuted. Now, I'm saying that as a serious libertarian as you. Don't expect FBI agents to be choir boys. They're not. If they were choir boys, they wouldn't be FBI agents.
Yes, but we're not all criminals.
No, of course not.
And that's how we're treated when they have so much power to do whatever they want in any manner they want to do it.
So Mueller's job is to gather evidence to either indict or dispel.
Okay. All right.
We'll see where he's going. In this case, his procedure was perfectly according to federal practice today.
I mean, but what happens in the end? I can't imagine that Robert Mueller and his team go, well, there's nothing to see here. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Well, they'll either say there's nothing to see with respect to the president, but we've indicted the following people. We know they've indicted some people already, and probably more indictments are coming. Whether there is evidence about the president's involvement, who knows? They're going to save that till the end. This is normally a process that does not take place under a microscope. We ordinarily don't even know what's happening. In the real world, when a person is not indicted, we don't even know that they were investigated. But Jim Comey changed the real world by announcing that there's evidence against Mrs. Clinton, but we're not going to indict her anyway. Probably the same thing will happen here. There's some evidence that he knew some things, but we decided to end it.
I blame Kim Kardashian.
That I have to hear you explain.
We'll have to do it at a later night. Thank you so much, Judge.
Nothing like ending with a wild one. Kim Kardashian.
Always start and end with a wild one.
Yes, I knew her father from the OJ case.
God rest his soul.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Great guy.
Joining me now, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox Business contributor Charlie Hurt. Charlie, great to see you. Wouldn't you
Lou.
like to hear the GSA interpretation of the law on TPP?
and not only that, they got that completely wrong because by claiming that a .gov website does not have any presumption of privacy is complete malarkey, because, of course, there are tens of thousands of .gov websites, email addresses in the United States Capitol, in the Senate and in the House, and there is a total presumption of privacy on all of those unless they get stolen, because, of course, Congress exempts itself from the Freedom of Information Act that applies to everybody, everything else in the government.
Yeah,
so, any way you look at it, it's bogus.
Bogus, and I said, by the way, speaking of bogus, I said TPP. I meant the PTT. I got my free trade deals and the transition team confused, I guess. Let's turn to Jackie Spear.
Yeah.
She's got the inside track on whether or not President Trump will fire someone. She and Adam Schiff. I mean, I get the feeling they live on the same block in the same community in California somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, I always think it's so funny when these geniuses who have been wrong about everything, they've been wrong about everything about Donald Trump, always come out and claim to be some kind of expert at his thinking, and they know what he's going to do, and they understand, they have the sort of secret sauce for understanding this guy, when in truth they couldn't understand anything, let alone all of the issues that the guy ran a campaign on, and blew all the Republicans and Democrats out of the water with, and ended up winning the presidency. So I find it amusing when these people come forth and start pretending to be a Trump whisperer, but they're kind of getting ridiculous.
I'd find it a little bit more amusing if Adam Schiff could avoid looking like an absolutely stark, raving, scared to death deer in the headlights of an oncoming locomotive. I mean, he gets so excited about all of this, and then says nothing, but CNN and the fake news folks dutifully transcribe his every word.
Well, you'd be terrified too if you had, you had launched this boomerang special prosecutor investigation, and after Donald Trump, thinking that was all that was going to come out of it, was all this collusion with Russia, and before long it turns out that the only thing we managed to be able to we hear about coming out of the thing is all the collusion between Barack Obama and the Democrats and the Republicans, and the Kremlin, to deny Trump the presidency in the first place.
Yeah, it is startling. Who would have ever dreamed at the onset of all of this that the collusion would be between the Obama administration, the DNC, the Clinton campaign, and oh yes, throw in Fusion GPS and their erstwhile smear merchants, and add stir with the Kremlin, and you've got the concoction that they went after.
Yeah, you really do. But remember, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Donald Trump was talking about how he wasn't sure he was going to accept the outcome of the election, that they were going to try to rig the election, and he was hooted off the stage, out of the public arena, saying that he was a reckless kook for saying such a ridiculous thing. And then here we are now, Lou, and all of these things turn out to be actually completely true.
And I still wonder day to day, James Clapper and John Brennan in particular, how they're doing, because they've obviously had the forefront of their minds and concerns has been the United States, not a partisan view of Donald Trump, President of the United States.
Well, they still have a lot of allies in the federal bureaucracy, and those people are still, we know that to this day those people are still working furiously behind the scenes to thwart the president, both in terms of his agenda, but also in terms of trying to pin anything on this guy. I think they'll stop at nothing. I think of it. It's like the Night of the Living Dead with all the zombies. They're zombie bureaucrats walking around, and that you cannot kill them.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what does bring them to a close, or an end, if you will, because Mike Morrell, the acting CIA director, is the first of the intelligence community. You called them zombies. I won't go quite that far, but he's the first to say, basically, I'm sorry. We overreacted. We took on Donald Trump when we shouldn't have, and treated him harshly and badly, which means that the intelligence community is acknowledging, at least in part, in the person of Mike Morrell, right, unfortunate actions on the part of the IC, to say the very least.
Yeah.